Hello and welcome back to another Space Engineers showcase video. In today's video we're looking at another small fighter, and this one is called the Bumblebee Mk VII, which is this lovely thing right here. So this is a small ship that features all types of thrusters, so it's good for just about everywhere, and it's covered in turrets and rocket launchers to blast your enemies. Pressing F10 and finding it in the spawn menu, the Bumblebee Mk VII is not 1079 large blocks, but it does use the Sparks of the Future DLC pack, and I'll give it a little thumbs up. Yes, spawning this in, we are a lot lower. In fact, I'll need to get out of my character. There we go. This thing is actually only 218 blocks, so it's a lot smaller than it says on the tin. Yes, coming out of there and moving the camera all the way around. We'll then go around the outside, then fly around for a bit and test out the destruction these rocket launchers can deal. Yes, all the way over here, this is what we get. Front and center, we have got 8 rocket launchers, and to smooth them out, we've got some ramps just for some added decoration. As we move all the way around the side of this thing, we're going to see even more ramps being put to very good use here, and we're going to see our fancy Sparks of the Future atmospheric thrusters lining the side, so we're good for planetary combat. As we move along, we're going to see the first of many turrets that appear on this ship. We've got 2 large Gatling turrets and 1 small interior turret to blast any oncoming missiles or even meteors if you have that turned on. As we continue along the side here, we're going to see a ion thruster to help us out in space, as well as a couple of hydrogen thrusters. Continuing along all the way around to the very back, this is what we get. We got ourselves a jump drive, so we can jump with this thing, but it is rather exposed, but it's not too much of a problem if that gets blown up. As for our thrust, we got 2 ion thrusters and 6 hydrogen thrusters, as well as the atmospherics we can see on the very side there. If we were to come up and above here, we're going to see even more good use of the ramp block, and we can see our jump drive just coming across over to here to our hydrogen tanks and even more interior turrets. Over to here, we got ourselves a survival kit to respawn on in the event we got shot down trying to get into this ship. We've got a doorway, which is how we're going to get to our cockpit. Just through here is a little seat where we can get inside, and we'll be nice and protected from the brunt force of any damage coming in. And then just over to here, we got ourselves a connector just to recharge this thing up with hydrogen and ammunition for the turrets. Moving along to the front, we got even more hydrogen thrusters, and we can see the top of our atmospherics all the way over to there. And then we're back at the front where our rocket launchers sit. Moving all the way down and underneath, we're going to see even more atmospheric thrusters, even more hydrogen thrusters, and even more ramps and turrets. And that goes all the way along to the very back where our jump drive is sitting. So there we go, it's a very brief around the outside, and we do have, which I did miss out, a few welder blocks on here because this ship is designed to repair itself up in combat if it ever took damage. Yes, we can come over to here, and that's what it looks like as a whole. Getting into my character and bringing up the HUD, this is what we get. In first person view, we're not going to be able to see too much. We are heavily reliant on our camera, which sits on our top right. So using that, we'll get a nice clear view at where we're aiming and where we're going. Number 2 is for our hydrogen thrusters, where we can switch that off, and we'll be relying on our ion or atmospheric depending on where we are. Number 3 is for our rocket launchers, where we can fire them all at the same time at the very front there and deal a nice load of damage to our enemies. Number 4 is for our atmospheric thrusters on and off. 5 and 6 is for our repair system, so 6 is our projector to turn it on and off, and number 5 is to turn our welders on and off. 7 and 8 is for our turrets to switch them on and off, and number 9 is for our jump drive, but I'm on planet, so we can't activate it. Coming to tab number 2, we then got even more controls. 1 and 2 is for manual control of our turrets, where we can just click them, and they'll shoot out straight ahead. 3 and 4 is for our thruster override for our ion thrusters, where we can just cruise along when we're traveling from one place to another. 5 is for our hydrogen tanks to stockpile on and off. 6 for our parachutes in the event we get blown up on a planet. 7 turns on all our active blocks, so pressing that is basically the same as turning on the power of the vehicle. 8 and 9 is for our hydrogen tanks on and off. Coming to tab number 3, we then got wall controls, which is going to be for our turrets to change what they're targeting and what they're not. With that all done and out of the way, we now test fly this around. So going forwards, this is what we get. We take a little bit to get going, but once we get going, we reach 100 meters per second in a few seconds. Coming to a stop as well is pretty damn good for this size of ship, but you may need to do a 180 if you want to come to a sudden stop. Moving left, and moving right, we've got some nice speed with that. Going down, And then going up, we got some great speed with that. Going up feels much faster than everything else. Pressing number 1 and then moving my mouse around, this is what we get. We got a nice bit of meat on here, so it's a little bit draggy when we move our mouse around, but it suits this size of ship and typically what I prefer when flying a ship. Yes, with that all done and out the way, we can come over to all these ships that I spawned in a previous video, and we can start blasting it with our rocket launchers. So coming over to here, we can start our barrage, moving towards the Albatross, which is half in the ground. Look at all those rockets going into it. Yes, we should do a nice chunk of damage with all of them going in. Coming to our camera and launching them once again, we can just bore a hole straight through this. And yes, that's a lot of damage in a short amount of time. Of course, that'll be different if you're fighting an enemy who's flying around, and I will mention right now that the creator of this ship does have a YouTube channel and does show off combat using the ship, so I'd highly recommend checking that out. You can find a link on the workshop page if you are interested. What we can do is have a little test at our repair system, so switching them on, jumping out the seat, opening that up, then coming over to the Albatross, hopefully it's still working, and making myself untargetable. We can now give this to the space pirates and see what it can do. There we go, I've just given it to the space pirates. Hopefully they'll recognize the ship over there. Nope, they're going to start targeting all the other stuff I spawned in, so let's just go and get rid of them. There we go. Now they should start targeting the Bumblebee. The Bumblebee has open fire on it, and they are shooting each other. I will still very quickly come over to here and get into the seat once again. Fly it a little bit closer. We should start to attack it. They are shooting their Gatling guns at me, but we are repairing everything up a lot more rapidly than they can deal damage. Yes, it's a handy little ship if you want a fighter ship to play around with. Of course, we're using rocket launchers that will need to be manually reloaded if you're using this in survival mode, but it's a lot of fun just to mess around in creative, especially in PvP. That all done and out of the way, that is it for this video. I'll leave a link to the ship in the description below, and I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.